Hello and welcome to Mental Monday. This is the big friendly conversation about mental health with me, Jake Symons. For the next half an hour, we are going to be having a Mental Health Awareness Week special. Now, I'm just going to hold off for a couple of minutes or moments, hopefully, because we are just checking. We're live on Twitch and YouTube, which we now stream to both. And we are both live on Twitch and YouTube. Though there is some slight stream issues, I do apologise to them. Hopefully they resolve themselves. If they don't, it may be the case that we have to make some changes to the stream, which may involve restarting it. However, for now, it appears everything is working well. So, without any further ado, let's get right into the stream. If you watched yesterday, you'll know that yesterday, 7 PM UK, 11 AM Pacific, we had a Mental Monday, our first Mental Health Awareness Week special. And this was really in kind of regards to an overall of the theme, because it's Mental Health Awareness Week here in the UK, and about how we kind of break the theme down and what's kind of coming up in the week. Now, today I wanted to mainly focus on the theme, which is nature. And about kind of connecting with nature and how nature benefits mental health and all of that. But before we do any of that, just a quick reminder that this is not a kind of therapy session, so it's important to try and avoid talking about, triggering things, which I'm sure we're all aware of what they are. And if you do need help here in the UK, Samaritans on 116123 or Childline if you're under 18 on 0800 11 11. Always there for you. So, I'm going to start off with our usual question because it's an important one to ask, and that is, how are you? I've had a really good day actually. I've been kind of back at work because I took yesterday off work to actually focus on a lot of the mental health stuff. So back at work today, been fun catching up with everything there. Also been fun to talk about kind of some of how to take action. And this was kind of what I spent the majority of yesterday talking about on here, which was slightly unintentional because I was meant to do that on Thursday. But it was all about, how awareness has to mean something and has to lead to something. And ultimately there has to be some kind of action. Because otherwise, this is just, all the companies, all the government ministers out there tweeting, hashtag Mental Health Awareness Week. But nothing really changes. Which is obviously, for us in the mental health community, doesn't mean anything. So that is something that I was talking about, and we'll be talking about some more about how that affects you. So if you're here for the first time, this is obviously a kind of stream between you and I, and it's just kind of something that's very informal. I'm not a mental health professional, you're probably not either. So I try and write and I try and talk on Mental Monday to individual actions that we can all take right now. So I do try and give recognition to some of the government stuff, some of the policy stuff, and I'll be breaking down some of that tomorrow. Some of the kind of research and the policy that the MHF have kind of come up with, Mental Health Foundation, but specifically kind of to this channel, it's just a a mental health chat between me and you. At the end of the day, that's what it is. And I want to kind of keep that in mind while I'm talking. So that is kind of just why things are done in a certain way, and that that all the issues are addressed. I should probably mention you can reach me in chat, which is probably the best place to reach me if you're watching this. You can also reach me on Twitter at JakeusWrites, Instagram Jake_Symons, which I'm just getting up to check throughout the show. If you do send me something, I'll probably read it out. So if you don't want me to do that, send it to me after. And it won't obviously be used on Mental Monday. If you send it to me outside of Mental Monday, that stays between us. So there we are. Introduction out the way. Let's talk about nature. And to be honest, I did think this was going to be a bit wishy-washy. I did expect it to kind of be very kind of pop-planty in terms of how to actually talk about it, and I was kind of struggling to talk about it in a way, because one of the biggest things and the biggest kind of slogans and the kind of thing that everyone's throwing around is that nature benefits your mental health. But unfortunately, like most kind of mental health things, that kind of benefit is intangible. Like, you can't kind of really quantify the benefits as such. And because of that, it's kind of difficult to put into words kind of beyond, oh, nature benefits your mental health. Um, Actually, what that benefit is. And I found that reading the MHF research report, which is the one they do for kind of journalists and researchers, policymakers, and then I kind of convert it into a short 1,500 word summary, which I do every year. And reading that, there were a lot of talk about nature positively benefits mental health. And there were some things like reduces anxiety, stress, and depression, which came up a lot, but there wasn't really anything kind of tangible. It's very kind of abstract. So it's going to be a kind of a challenge to convey that now, especially because obviously regular viewers will know this is unscripted. So I hadn't actually planned how to, more so than my blog that I'm obviously kind of basing today's stream off of, how to actually kind of convey that. So I think for me, probably the biggest way that nature's helped my own mental health is just providing a calming environment where I can actually, just be myself and just feel kind of separated from the kind of my stresses and what's going on around me. Now, yeah, it's always going to be tricky to explain something abstract, but there's stories on the MHF website, also on Twitter, really good place to look, and Instagram as well. Hashtag MHAW, really kind of good content of people putting it into words, how kind of nature's helped them. So, I think in terms of benefits, just being more calmer overall and having a circuit breaker, if you will, to away from my anxiety, so I'm actually able to take some time to kind of recover a bit from that and to just kind of take some, I not like walk it off and get some fresh air as such, but just kind of take some calming time, like, I guess by taking a walk and just kind of, having that time to just process what's going on around me in that moment in nature, rather than processing the kind of the difficult thoughts and feelings, which effectively is kicking the can down the road. And that works for me because it means that in the kind of quiet environment, I'm actually able to rationally think about what's going on, and I'm able to kind of slow that thought process down, and I'm able to think myself about kind of what I'm thinking about and kind of how I'm thinking about it, and then kind of be a bit more rational and a bit more calm about those kind of decisions. And I think that that's really something that's kind of the benefit of me, is being in that kind of that physical space where you have distraction, you have sounds, you can see birds and trees and all of that, and it just is a calming environment where you can just escape to and continue that recovery journey. And that is something something that's been really, really beneficial for me in terms of my mental health. And especially with our government kind of one form of exercise per day, it's definitely been a reprieve from that and a way of getting out and actually just escaping the four walls, to be honest with you. But that is something that's really helped me. And it does sound a bit wishy-washy, and I'm trying not to make it sound, very kind of kind of pot planty. And the reason I say that is because there was a lovely tweet about how, you know, a houseplant won't cut it. And unfortunately, I can't remember the author of that now, but I will try and give that a retweet if I can find it, because it is such a good tweet in terms of, you know, this isn't nature as in, you know, have like a barge full of pot plants, for example, or, you know, just kind of get out in nature. It's about engaging with nature. And, you know, the Mental Health Foundation talk about kind of the quality of our interaction with nature. And, you know, a walk, you know, with your headphones in, just kind of bobbing along through a forest isn't probably a high quality interaction. Whereas if you actually kind of, you know, put your phone on silent and just take in what's around you, I find that a lot more beneficial. And, you know, like all things mental health, this does not work for everybody. You know, what tends to happen with mental health awareness weeks is that people talk. You get all the people who this has benefited talking about how nature benefits them. But it's always important to remember that this does not affect everybody. So, you know, some people aren't going to feel that benefit. Some people, you know, aren't, you know, need more than a pot plant, for example, or, you know, sitting with a window open, which was a Mental Health Foundation suggestion. You know, that doesn't really cut it for some people. And that's like something to remember, really, with all these weeks, is that it kind of biases it towards people coming out and saying, yes, nature's really helped me, like myself, for example, because it has. But it's always important to remember that there are people that haven't got that benefit, and again, there's people that can't access nature. There's people out there that, you know, would want to have this benefit, but for whatever reason can't. And, you know, that's something to remember as well. So I do try and acknowledge all sides of that, and just kind of with any mental health awareness week, the loudest voices are those that, you know, talk about the theme and talk about nature and talk about how that's helped them. But, you know, what that kind of leads to, and what I'm trying to avoid it leading to, is that kind of conveying to other mental health things. So while there is Mental Health Foundation research, and there is, obviously, I'm talking about some of that tomorrow, about how, you know, nature does benefit our mental health and how there is actually research to support that. What we don't want to get into a situation with, and what I try and avoid, is by saying, you know, this benefits this person and therefore it will do too. So when it comes to the kind of individual mental health conversations that we're all having, and especially, you know, if people have reached out to you or if you've reached out to others during this time and actually spoken to them about mental health, it's that comparison with, oh, well, I saw on Twitter that someone said that this worked for them, maybe you should try that. And it gets into a situation where we have to acknowledge that everyone has a different recovery journey, and comparisons are not helpful. And that is just somewhere where we don't really want Mental Health Awareness Week to go to, because if that's not helping people, and obviously the week is to provide as much kind of value and support to the mental health community as possible ultimately, and to actually make change, which is why there has to be action, which is what I'm talking about on Thursday. So I just wanted to add that in because I didn't actually say that yesterday, so I thought it would be worth mentioning that. I have talked about on my blog as well, if you do want to read about kind of recovery journeys and how, you know, all that kind of stuff, which I did mention yesterday. So there's that to do. Just going to do a quick check of the messages to see if there is anything come in. As always, these are unscripted, so as we hit the halfway mark on Mental Monday, if there is something that you would like to talk about that we have maybe not mentioned or are not covering right now, do just let me know, and that would be fine. I am always here to take kind of your comments as well. Something else I did want to talk about though, and just kind of going back to my bullet point list, is about how awareness how awareness weeks in general are kind of superficial, and how to take action. Because I am talking about this on Thursday, but I thought, as I seem to have mentioned half of it, I'll probably just mention it now and then talk about something else on Thursday, which does kind of put the blogs and the videos out of alignment, but I do think that would be better, unless, I find some more things to talk about taking action, because there's always action to take with mental health awareness. And the best way to get involved as an individual is to be there for someone, and that's the single most important thing that you can do for someone right now, and you can do for those, all of us really, is just be there. And, if you're in a good place yourself and you see someone struggling, or you don't think someone's okay, or they do look okay, just ask them if they're alright. See if you can spark that conversation and just have a normal conversation as a mate while you're talking about mental health. Yeah, okay, it's a difficult thing to talk about, but just keep the conversation, normal, as in talk to them normally, if that makes sense. They're still your mate. They can still have a laugh. They can still, to just be normal. And there we are. That's what I'm putting that out there again, because that is like the single most important thing that's really helped me in terms of having mental health conversations, is just by keeping them normal, keeping them real, and that's really important. So that is kind of what you can do. Obviously, I'll be sharing the work of the charities on Thursday. So there's a Mind, for example. There's the Calm Zone, or Calm. There's also Young Minds, among others, and many, many mental health advocates. And obviously, the single most important thing we need right now is funding, so we are able to, get support. And I love the distinction between mental illness and mental wellness. And this is something that I've been kind of speaking about on the blog on Thursday, is that, we talk about mental wellness. So things like Every Mind Matters, which is obviously the government's mental health campaign. It's been kind of brought up a lot due to the pandemic. It's done by the NHS, and it's a bunch of tools, resources, guides, all that kind of stuff of how to look after your mental health in the pandemic. And it's things like eat healthily, drink lots of water, have some fresh air, etc., etc., which is good for mental wellness, because, those things can boost your mood and make you feel more positive. But it's important to remember and not lose sight that we all have a mental health. And, we all have mental wellness, and we all have to kind of maintain our mental wellness. But there are people out there with mental illness, and this needs more. This needs professional support, medical support, because it is serious and real, and can't just be walked off, or, an open window is not gonna change it. So there has to be the support in place for those with mental illness, along with, in general, those kind of resources on mental wellness, because obviously, we do all have to be mentally well. That does affect everyone. So I can understand why the focus would be on what affects everyone, and that is obviously important to focus on, especially in a pandemic when we're heading into mental health crisis and everyone's kind of struggling, understandably. There has to be a conversation around mental illness, and a lot of the kind of criticisms of this week from those in the mental health community, including myself, are that these weeks focus on the surface and they focus on the general, which is good in some ways because it allows more people to be reached. So you're talking about nature, you're talking about connecting with nature, the benefits of nature on mental health. That's something that affects everyone, because everyone has mental health. Mostly everyone can get out in nature. The MHF suggest, open a window, get a pot plant if you can't physically leave your home, which I would say is a very, very, very long shot, to kind of include that is kind of clutching at straws, in my opinion, in terms of what getting out into nature means, by opening a window or having a pot plant. But there are people that is their only option, and that has to be acknowledged. Although if more open spaces were, say, disabled friendly, wheelchair friendly, being a massive one, especially in like some open spaces where you got all these cracked stairs to kind of get into it, or some grass bank. So you either take the wheelchair down, the cracked stairs, or the grass bank off road. It's probably not the most safest place to get to. Again, little kind of parks, especially at the back of kind of houses and surrounded by trees, can be quite dark. It's not really a open, safe space for people to go, and there are people that could access nature that can't because of barriers, and it's important to recognise those, because we can just argue everyone can go out and take a walk, but actually that's not possible in some areas. So just thought I'd put that in there. But that's not going to help those with mental illness as much, because it has to be a level of professional support, be that therapy, be that medication, be that in some cases hospitals, and that kind of one-to-one medical care that someone needs during a crisis. And those are needed for some people, and fortunately medication is not something that I'm on right now. It's definitely something that I've had in the past. It didn't really work, mainly because I chose not to take it long enough, because I was obviously in a mental health crisis, so therefore I was adverse to kind of anything at that point. Unfortunately, it turned out that I didn't need it, and I was able to recover via kind of counselling and talking therapy, and using mostly my support network around me. And that is something that's really kind of benefited me. But some people need medication, and some people need kind of intensive, therapy, stuff like CBT, for example, that maybe just go beyond sitting down on a sofa with someone. And that is important to recognise too. And that can't just be kind of shoved to one side, and we can't tell everyone to do, say, kind of stuff, some of the stuff that Every Mind Matters suggests. We can't throw out to everyone, these are mental health tips, go out and do this, because for some people they need something, they need more, they need that kind of that intervention, and we have to provide it, we have to fund it, we have to make it readily available. We have to focus on prevention as well, which is something that Young Minds have been calling for. And that all has to happen alongside the go out and take a walk. If your kind of mental health campaign it kind of stops at go out and take a walk. But it can't just be superficial. It has to have kind of depth, and depth that reaches those with mental illness, not just focusing on mental wellness. And that is something that's really, really important, and very, very, very exasperating for those in the mental health community who I regularly see tweeting this. And I can't agree more with it. There has to be more there. In the same way that if you're an employer and you're just, say, tweeting, happy #mental-health-awareness-week, we look after our employees' mental health here at X company, but not doing that, or thinking taking everyone to an aqua park is a great team building exercise to make everyone happy, it's probably not the best option. Actually talking to people, seeing what they want, seeing what they need, seeing how your company can actually like what for your company is the best And what do people want? Just talk to people, listen to people, create that kind of open culture where you have that space for people to suggest ideas that are going to make their time with you happier, because ultimately that benefits everyone. So, I mean, obviously, there has to be a within reason, within budget requirement, and I totally understand that. But in terms of just kind of general throwing things around, just open it up. And, don't think that just putting something on Twitter is enough for Mental Health Awareness Week. It's what you do internally, how you kind of operate day to day, that matters a lot more than the kind of the public facing messages you put out. While they may be good for your customers and they may be good for your investors, what do your people actually want and how do you get the most out of them? And that's by what you do behind the scenes. So just a thought there as well. And we are coming to the end of Mental Monday. We're kind of into the last 5 minutes. I just want to give another shout out to blog requests. Now, I really do want as many as possible, as I keep saying, because it's so important that I actually I want to include everyone that's written a blog for Mental Health Awareness Week 2021. I want to include them all, providing they're in English and they're not too triggering. So, not about, say, a specific mental health experience that may upset others. But other than that, I want to include them. I probably won't include other roundup posts. So if you're just linking out some resources, for example, so saying that, say if you've got a company and your company just says, this is Mental Health Awareness Week, we support this, please check the Mental Health Awareness Week's website for more content. That's probably not going to get included. But if you've written something personal, or if you've written your thoughts on the theme, or if you've had a moan about funding, or whatever it is, I just want to include it, even if it disagrees with my view. And the reason for that is the roundup post is ultimately to provide a location on my website where I can say, well, now you've heard my view, now you've heard what I've had to say on Mental Monday or via my blogs, here's what others say. And kind of handing the floor back to the mental health community, because there's so many amazing content creators, and I've got a huge list already. My list has definitely grown. I don't have it up in front of me, but I've got about 30 links now, and yesterday I had 20, so it is going up. DM on Twitter at JakeSWrites, Instagram Jake_Symons, chat, or comment somewhere, just anywhere, I'll pick it up. But please, if you know someone or you have yourself written a blog, let me know so I can get that included. So the roundup post I've done for 2019 and 2020, and this will be my third Mental Health Awareness Week, and it basically covers kind of what's in the news, first of all. So I'll take a look at things like the Mental Health Minute, which is happening on Friday with Fritz William, and also kind of some of the news articles. For example, there's been a Metro takeover of mental health advocates. The Premier League have pushed out some stuff with, say, Dr. Alex, and kind of that kind of stuff. And then there's a whole section devoted to mental health bloggers and what kind of content creators are producing. So it will include a short summary of why I included the blog, because I do read all of them, like, personally, because, I actually really do care about what others in the mental health community creates, because I love these weeks because it gives us all a chance to come together in the mental health community, and it gives us a chance as content creators to have a platform to share a universal message. In this case, it's mostly about funding, but again, it gives us a chance to talk as a community and to really be there for each other. And I really do like the mental health community. It is a very, very lovely place, and I always find, and I've said this before, that the level of empathy and friendship that you can have as, someone who lives with mental illness, with someone else who does too, is, you just get each other in a way that is difficult to explain. But, we just talk, we can, laugh and share in our experiences and what we've gone through. and they are some of the most lovely people I know. So big shout out to all those in the mental health community. You're doing a good job, guys. And there we go. That is the end of Mental Monday. Thank you so much for coming. We are going to be live tomorrow, at which time I will have some statistics for you, because obviously, there is nothing like a good statistic. It's not going to be like reading off the stats, so I'm not going to read my blog to you, because, you can do that yourself if that's something that interests you. But I do want to share some of the key statistics, and also kind of what really stood out to me in terms of the theme and why it was chosen, and my thoughts on the theme more so, because today I kind of talked about nature and my thoughts on that, but kind of my thoughts on mental health awareness week, and kind of whatever else kind of comes up with that and where that leads to, really. So I'm going to be guided by the chat a lot for those two. That and Thursdays as well, because I've covered most of Thursday's stuff already, and I think it's, where it's going to go. It's going to be about funding and access to services and all that lovely stuff. So that is it from me. Thank you so much for coming to Mental Monday. Really do appreciate this. We are going to be live tomorrow, so I'll see you then. Bye for now.